name's Derek. I'm one of the trainers in CoolCare, and you have to excuse me because my voice has decided to disappear on me this morning. But I'll do my best so you can hear me. So we're going to be looking at invoicing and some bits of invoicing you may not know about, and some things that hopefully can make things easier for you. So this is called Invoicing Made Easy. And of course, I have to tell you that CoolCare is here to make operating your care home easier, more efficient, and more profitable. Also, during this session, you will be able to ask questions, but we ask you to use the Q&A at the top of your screen. Sam, my colleague, is there waiting to type away answers to you. There will be time at the end of the session as well for you to ask questions. So what are we going to go over today? We're going to have a look at billing contract terms for consistent billing information, adjusting residence fees through contribution changes, ad hoc adjustments for small changes to invoices, editing invoices on the fly once they've been created, and emailing invoices directly from CoolCare. Right, let me see if I can do the share bit. I'm going to have to share my screen with you. See if I can get that bit right to start off with. Okay. So in CoolCare, when you are setting up, and you probably know this already, when you're setting up a new billing contract, you have to go into the resident. In fact, let me just do it easier. Let me go into the resident. And let's go into, let me just change to my home. I'm in Sam's home. There you go. I'll pick this person here. When you go in to fee contracts and you're adding new contracts to the resident, so that those contracts can pay the weekly fee. If I was to insert a new one here for a sec, it comes up and it says about the contract. So who's paying the bill? Who's the payee? Now you could type the information in here, the address, the mobile number, the way they usually pay. But you can put all that information into a thing called billing contract terms. It's one of the lookups. Now you'll probably already have some stuff in there, maybe even just with the contract name. But you can put a lot of things in there to make life a bit easier. So let me show you. For instance, I've got Leeds City Council here. Let me go and show you where I stored information for Leeds City Council. So I click on my name in the top right-hand corner. I come down to lookups. And in lookups, we've got one called billing contract terms. So I click on that. And here I can have a list of all the payees. And I can also put rules in for each payee, because each payee might have different rules. So let me show you. Leeds City Council, for instance, on my one. I could have anonymous invoicing for Leeds City Council, but maybe for Wakefield, it's not anonymized. I can have it so it bills on discharge date. I have here in my one, I'm saying that Leeds, on the death of a resident, they would pay an extra three days. Wakefield might pay 1 day. And when someone is discharged because you cannot meet needs, you can put a rule in for that. You can also, over here, if the payee has certain rules around absences. So say this my imaginary Leeds City Council here, let's say they say if the person's absent for 20 days, we're going to pay 10% less. So I can add that in. I'm going to say if the 20 days, reduce the fee by 10%. In fact, if the person's out of the home for 50 days, probably in hospital, then bring it down by 25%. So because we have different contracts for each payee, you can apply these rules, each of them, because they may be different. You can also talk about payment details. So you can say, When Leeds pay me, they always pay unit month on the second of the month. And they always pay by standing order. Or I could say fixed days. So they always pay every 28 days and buybacks. So you can set this stuff up in the billing contract terms for each contract. You can also set up emailing invoices. Now I'm going to leave that to the end because we're going to talk about that at the very end. So I'm going to come back to that. When you've got your billing contract terms set up, there is one that you always have to have, and you probably have this already, but I'm just saying this just in case. When you go into your lookups and your billing contract terms, you have to have at least one private one. Because if the next of kin or the resident is paying, they're not the NHS, they're not a local authority. It's going to be private. But the private one is different from all the others. Because when I go and I create my Leeds one, for instance, I have all the information about the organisation, the same when I do Wakefield or Harrow, wherever it might be. But when it's private, this is what you have to do. I'm going to pretend I'm creating a new one. If it's private, I click private billing contract. And what that does is it creates one private one that I can use for all next of kin or all residents. Because in the actual billing in the residence record, you would put private, and then you could put the address details or the pay details of the person who's paying for that particular resident. Right. What about when fees change? So I keep saying Leeds City Council. Leeds City Council decide they're going to pay less for some reason. How do you account for that? Especially if they've told you maybe 2 months after they've made the decision, they're paying 10% less. So let's go into a residence record. There's David. Let's go into his. I'm going to go into billing and I'm going to go to fee contracts. And here we can see the weekly fee is 1,456. And down here, we have Leeds paying 900 and the next of kin, John, paying 556. Now, CoolCare is happy because these two numbers here match this one. But Leeds come along and say to us, actually, we're not paying 900 anymore, we're paying 800. And not only that, we decided we were doing that from November. So I go into the contract here in the residence record. And I've got contribution change. There's already been 2 changes here already. I'm going to put in another one. You don't edit the existing one, you create a new one. So I'm going to say, let's say 1st of November. They said, we're only paying 800. I'm going to save that. When we go back into the contract, CoolCare is not happy because it knows that these 2 numbers do not add up to that. So 2 things you could do. I could decrease this, or I could make the next of kin pay more. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the next of kin pay more, but I will talk about changing this number in a little while. So I go next of kin, I go in, I go to contribution change. I put in new contract. I put the date in, so I can do the 1st of November as well. I forgot to do my maths before I came in. So it's going to, we went down to, it's going to be 600, isn't it? 56, I think. Hope it is. 56. And if I save that, please be right. Yeah. So there's no warning because these 2 numbers here add up to this number. But you still got a problem because you may have invoiced Leeds City Council in end of November end of December for the full amount of 900, but they're only going to pay 800. So how do you reconcile the invoices? You don't have to worry because CoolCare knows. So it'll know that you've done the contribution change. It will know that we have invoiced leads £200 too much over those 2 months. The next invoice that goes out, it'll automatically make the adjustment and credit the next invoice. Our poor friend here, John, he's in for a bit of a shock because what it will do on his next invoice, it'll know it under invoiced him in November and December. It will add that missing charge onto that invoice. So the other thing that might happen to you is, what if this changes? So what if my fees just go up? How do I deal with that? Let me, can we use this one here? Yeah, let's use this one here. Let's say 1st of January, our fees went up. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to do insert for a new weekly fee. I'm going to say 1st of Jan. I'll say the weekly fee is now 1556. There you go. If I save that, when we now go back into billing and fee contracts, CoolCare is not happy. It knows these two numbers here don't match that number. So I'm going to have to make a change now to one of these. I could do £50 to each of them, but what I'll do is I'll just charge the council 100 more. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to go contribution change, new contract, and I put in, forgot, 900, I think, isn't it? I have too much to think about. I see it in the wrong field. No, there you go. 900. Let's save that. Yeah, let's see if I got it right. Please. Yes, I did. So now these two amounts equal this one. It doesn't matter what order you do them in, by the way. I could have put the extra 100 on here and then put the 100 on here. As long as these two add up to what's here, CoolCare will be happy. Another thing you might want to be doing here, a list of things to do here, is you can make ad hoc adjustments to invoices. So what I mean by that is, if I come down here, let's say there's an extra charge on top of the monthly invoice, and I want to charge that through, say, to leads. I click here. Beside contribution change, I have ad hoc adjustment. If I click on ad hoc adjustment, I can go down and say, right, I want to add something to this. So we're adding an extra 100 quid. So description, what's it for? I'm going to pick nails. These are just here because I typed them a lot. And what's the nominal code? If you need to use the nominal code for an exterior program, and I'm going to say nails. What I can do is I can now create charge. If we go in here, come down, there is the extra charge on that. And I can put more on. I'll do one for 50 quid. Description, papers. You probably won't be putting these on as ad hoc, but you get the idea. So what'll happen is on the next invoice that goes out, those two items will appear in that invoice along with the normal fees, but that's it. They won't appear in the next one. They're only going to appear on this one that's going out, say this month, and it won't appear on any future ones. The other thing I was going to talk about was editing invoices. So this is something you may not realize. Even after you've created the invoice, you can make a change to it. So let me show you what I mean. So after you've processed your invoices come in here into invoices, and you could pick one. Let's say Paul here. If I click on Paul on that particular invoice, I come down here and I can see the items that are on that invoice. I would like to add an extra item that I forgot about. Add invoice items. Okay. I could put in the proper invoice date. I'm just going to put in, say, from the 14th to the 15th. That's when the charge is from. Quantity, so whatever you're invoicing for, the item is the one or two, three of them. I'm going to say this is one. What we do. Oh, it's just radio. Or my DAB radio. There you go. Put my nominal code in. Put in my VAT code, whatever that might be for the item. Put in the price, 75. And save. If I come down here, you can now see that I have an extra item on that invoice. Again, it's only for this one invoice. It could be a plus figure, it could be a minus figure. You could be taking money off the invoice for some reason. There'd been some mistake previously, and you want to manually take that off. I could have put minus 50 in there, and it would have taken 50 off. Like my voice is just about going to last. Right. Emailing. So you probably already know that you can export your invoices out to a CSV file, and that can be pumped into an exterior accounts package. And you can print out invoices. But now emailing is becoming a bigger thing. So some of the organizations who pays may accept emails, some may not. These are the things you have to do to switch on emailing. It's not too complicated. So let's say I want to turn on for leads. Keep picking leads. If I click here on my name, I'd come down to lookups. And we go back to billing contract terms, where we were at the beginning of the session. I'm going to go into leads. If I come down, if I want to email, if that will be unticked. I have to tick it. I shouldn't have done that. There you go. Click here to put your the email address in. Now this email address is the email address that leads have told me, we'll say, that I have to send the invoices to. So this is the email address the invoices are going to go out to. So CoolCare will take the invoices and send them to this email address. But that's not the only email address you need. So once you've done that to whichever payees are going to accept emails, if you go up here and click on your name again, and if you have rights to do this, you need to go into system configuration and go to emailing invoices, because the emails go out to leads, and most of the time they go and that's it. Everything's sorted. If leads decide they want to reply, that reply comes back into CoolCare, because we send the invoices out, it'll come back into CoolCare. But we want to send that reply to yourselves. So you put in here the email address that you would like any replies that come back for any of the payees to go to. So you can put in your reply email. You can also do a BCC one as well, so someone else gets the message. You can have some text in your email body. I've just got, please find invoices attached. So when the email comes in, that's what it'll say, and then all the invoices will be attached to that email. So if I do those two things, like I set it up in my billing contract terms, my out email, I come in here to system configuration and tell CoolCare what email I want, any replies to be sent to, so I can read them. How do I go about sending these invoices? So I'm going to go to residents. I'm going to go to invoices. So in here, these are all my invoices waiting to go out. And I can send them out. I can print them, I can import them, or export them out to another package. But I can email them as well. Now, each of these ones works slightly different. The thing about email is, if you're currently printing them, you know you have to print, and then you have to say mark as printed. Or if you're exporting them to another program, you have to do the same. You have to export them and then say mark as exported. You don't have to do that with email. It will tick these boxes automatically. So I'm just going to pick two. You'd obviously going to pick all. You could also do waiting to be emailed. So ones that don't have a tick in that box. Okay. And let's just take that one there. 75, 78, and 79. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say email selected. You might do email all that are there. So I'll say email selected. Well, 1775. What would be a funny number like that, wouldn't it? Is ticked. It automatically ticked it itself. So you don't have to tick it. It should have came up and said it was sending the emails. I don't know why it didn't come up. There should have been a box came up and said sending emails. You click on that and it sends them. But that's kind of it. That's all there is to email them. Of course, for yourselves, it would be much easier if any of the organizations that you deal with will accept emails. It'd be much easier. Oh, yes, one thing. I knew there was something else I added about 5 minutes before we started. One of the things that always kind of confuses me when I'm doing the setting up the contracts in billing contract terms. In here, it says about pay details. And you've got fixed days, anniversary, unit month, unit 365, unit 366. Now, yes, you can click here. Oh, sorry, let me get rid of that drop down. You can click here and it does give you a kind of explanation of what they actually do or how they're different. But if you are maybe struggling with invoices, I want to know more about invoices, I would suggest you do this. If you go in, click on your name, go to user guides. Now, before I say anything, I know user guides are famous for having everything in them except what you want. But all our user guides have all been updated and they are really good. For instance, the one about those those different pay details. If I go into this guide here, I know this works, I tested it. I go down to page 4, there it is. You can see here it explains exactly what's going on with those pay details. It gives you a really good account of what's happening. But if I go back here for a sec, you've got invoicing and CoolCare. You've got 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. You've got invoicing top tips. Example of the templates if you're printing them. There's even a bit about emailing invoices and contract invoices on CoolCare. So yeah, I would definitely say, if you haven't read them, they're definitely worth having a glance through. I'm sure that they'll definitely help. Okay, that's me finished whittering away. Thanks for listening to me. And oh God, what was I saying? Let me share my screen. Christmas makes me forget everything. Before I let you go, I have to say to you, whether you are in charge of financing and payroll, rota management, or tracking residents, you can work with our product specialists online or in person. And did you know that there are free training sessions? So every year you get two free half-hour training sessions. To find out what training sessions you have that are free, or even ones you haven't realized you haven't used yet, if you email training@coolcare4.co.uk, we'll be able to help you. There's also a phone number there here as well, which is 011 3385 3853. I'm convinced to put the 3s in just for me. Yeah, so there you go. That's it. You can, if you have any other questions to ask, please use the Q&A, and myself and Sam will be here for about another 10 minutes, watching those questions. Okay, thank you, and see you next time.